The Vancouver Canucks make multiple moves following last night's game versus the Washington Capitals, as Allvin has announced key players have been placed on the injury reserves. We also get an update on Filip Chytil as the Vancouver Canucks continue to fill out their lineup with key call-ups and a few players sent down, as this has major implications on the Canucks' future and season moving forward. We're going to break down all these moves, including players placed on IR and so much more in this episode, and you're not going to miss it. But before we get into that, I just want to give a huge shout out to everyone watching. If you're part of the 58.7% watching and you haven't hit the sub button yet, but you want to stay up to date on everything to do around the Canucks, make sure to go down and hit that free subscribe button. It means the world. And in return, we'll give you daily updates from all around the team. But with that, let's just dive straight into today. We're following last night's game versus the Washington Capitals. We've seen multiple players leave the game due to injuries. The first being Filip Chytil, Jonathan Lekkerimaki, and Teddy Blueger, who did not finish the final, I believe, 7 minutes of the game. Now, Patrik Allvin went out with an announcement today saying that they are moving Filip Chytil and Jonathan Lekkerimaki to the IR, retroactive to October 19th. So with both these players out right now, and we have another update on them and Teddy Blueger coming soon, this does make it short up front for the Vancouver Canucks, who is already without Brock Boeser as he is away from the team for personal reasons. Now with the Canucks, the biggest thing is the center depth. The question around the team now gets thinner as we get the second update coming through. As Allvin has said, Teddy Blueger is doubtful to play on Tuesday in Pittsburgh, but the return of leave of Brock Boeser is a possibility. Injured Filip Chytil and Jonathan Lekkerimaki flew back to Vancouver today to get further examination. So with this, the Vancouver Canucks are not only without their second line center in Filip Chytil that took a hit from Tom Wilson, but with Teddy Blueger being questionable, the Canucks had to make some desperate moves today to bring up key players within the organization to fill out a void of much needed assistance within the Canucks roster. Now going into this, there's a lot to look at. First, we do get a report coming from Elliotte Friedman. In case anyone was wondering, there will be no discipline for this play when we're seeing Tom Wilson hit Filip Chytil. Now, I know a lot of people are very upset with this hit. I do think he should have got at least a 2-minute for interference to set everything aside. If you lit a player off with a hit like this, especially with the player leaving the game and have been dealing with injuries before, this opens up the game for it to continue. We've seen Victor Mancini have to fight in order to settle the game down, but I think the biggest thing is right now is hoping for the best for Filip Chytil. We talk about it constantly, only playing 6 games so far this season, 15 the year before, 41, 10, you can work your way back. Filip Chytil has always dealt with injuries within his NHL career, seeing this hit where it could be whiplash, and I don't know to the extent of what is happening, but being placed on IR, being sent back to Vancouver for examination, things are getting tricky for the Vancouver Canucks as you continue to fill out a lineup already missing key players just a handful of games into the season. Looking at the center depth, and we will cover one name that was called up on this, including more, but the biggest thing is down the middle for the Vancouver Canucks, PD has been very good, having the best game of his season just last night versus the Washington Capitals. Ratu, who is a healthy scratch, draws in as a second line center with Max Sasson and Joe Labate. Now with this, Joseph Labate is a fan favorite, and we will touch on him. But the center depth on the Canucks, or you could say the Abbotsford center depth that has been called up, is making things very tricky for this Canucks team that is red hot right now on a win streak. But when looking at the team, the empty rights position, as we don't know if Brock Boeser is going to play, this forward group is getting dismantled, and the Vancouver Canucks need to figure something out very soon so they can secure a playoff spot. But the biggest thing around this Canucks team, being without Filip Chytil, who had an incredible start, being without someone like Teddy Blueger or even Brock Boeser, or going all the way to Jonathan Lekkerimaki, the forwards have been injured quite a bit, and this is a position that the Vancouver Canucks cannot let these players out of the lineup, as they don't have a lot of names to replace. The Abbotsford Canucks are going to be short men going into the banner drop in Abbotsford, as a lot of these players are going to have to play crucial roles for the Canucks. Now going in, we can see Joseph Labate was called up. Niels Höglander has been placed on LTIR, so him being out for quite some time, it makes things even more short for the Vancouver Canucks, as they're already missing, once again, as soon as I can find it, key players within this. If you have Nils Höglander in, you can help. This helps a lot, having a forward into this group. But right now, filling out the bottom six, a lot of these guys are very good. I love Max Sasson. He's played great. He's added speed to this group that we've been missing in the bottom six. Guys have stepped up in Carlton. We've seen him try to fight Tom Wilson. We know Baines has been a big part, especially on the penalty kill, but going into this, we see that they had to make moves, and this was sending down Victor Mancini, which a lot of people aren't going to be a fan of, playing in the limited minutes with the Canucks versus the Washington Capitals. We can see from the Canucks summaries, and go check out all his work, the Canucks don't have cap space for a call-up if someone is placed on IR. Would need to send someone down. Sasson, DPD, Mancini are waiver exempt, or utilize LTIR. Now with this, we do get the second update that we do see Tom Willinder and Nils Åman called up, so things are pointing towards that maybe Brock Boeser is not ready to get within this lineup after seeing Nils Åman is called up, and we see Tom Willinder. Now with Abbotsford, they're going to be very short men going into it, but calling up these players, there is a world where we're going to see the Vancouver Canucks move Kiefer Sherwood up to the second line, Linus Karlsson to the third, Nils Åman on the fourth. The forwards are getting first, and having these guys not in the lineup is going to impact the Canucks, and it kind of makes you think, is there a move coming within this organization? Now, bringing up Joseph Lebate, I loved him during the preseason. He looked great during training camp. A guy that hasn't got a ton of NHL action, drafted by the Canucks in 2011, only playing 19 games over his NHL career. A big body center that can bring something to this Canucks team that they need, especially with a lot of young guys in this lineup, as teams are going to look at this and maybe try to take advantage of this. You have a guy that's going to fight. He's going to put his body on the line. Bringing him up is awesome as well, but looking at the full lineup, going through, there's going to be changes within this group. Lebate's going to join. We don't know if Blueger's going to play. We know Brock Boeser is out with personal leave. On the defensive end, it's either going to be Tom Willinder or Joseph, and I'm guessing P.O. Joseph gets within this lineup, as we know the Vancouver Canucks don't want to rush Tom Willinder into a game, but this group that is currently on a 3-game win streak, they're on the road, winning games, looking outstanding, playing 3 games in 64 hours, but with the Canucks being down men, it's going to get very tricky if another injury does occur. If something happens within this group and you need to call up more players, there's something that has to give within this group. Maybe more Abbotsford players are going to be called up. Maybe Patrik Allvin looks at some free agents, or just looks at a possible trade to bring in a name that can help within the organization. But fans, what is your thoughts? What do the Canucks do at center if Teddy Blueger is out for an extended period of time? If Filip Chytil is out, do you make a big trade? Do you trust Aatu Räty and Max Sasson to take over the middle six? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And speaking of comments, let's go straight into comments of the day. Coming from Cal McKenzie, nice to see that Big Mancini can actually throw him 2 boots. That's the biggest thing is, Mancini has shown that he is an NHL player. Getting sent down is more of a cap issue, but I do think Mancini is a lot closer than some people expect. And listen, Callum and a lot of fans do agree that he's right on the verge of being an NHL player. But what is your guys' thoughts? Who do you think the Canucks target? Are they going to make a trade? Do they stay straight and try to right the ship with the current players? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. But that'd be it for this episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure to go down and leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back in another episode, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark Bye. Listen, they're going to continue a win streak, so this is going to be fun to watch. And take care, Canucks fans.